Welcome to our podcast. Today we're diving into an incredible development in the AI world coming out of China. Let's jump right in.
Absolutely. I'm really intrigued. What's happening over there?
So, you know how companies like OpenAI and Google spend billions on AI development?
Yeah, huge budgets.
Well, a Chinese lab called DeepSeek has just developed a cutting-edge AI model in just 2 months, spending under $6 million.
Wait, are you serious? That's phenomenal.
I know, right? It's like they've cracked some secret code and managed to outperform
Exactly.
some of the most advanced systems out there.
How is that even possible? Do they have some secret sauce?
Well, they optimized efficiency. You see, despite US restrictions on advanced chips like NVIDIA's H100 GPUs,
Right, the chip bans.
DeepSeek used less powerful H800 GPUs and cleverly optimized them.
That's impressive. So they turned a limitation into an advantage.
Exactly. Necessity really drives innovation. And get this, their model not only competes, but in some benchmarks, it outperforms models like GPT-4 and Anthropic's Claude.
That's mind-blowing. But what about the quality? Does it hold up in terms of reasoning and problem solving?
Yes, they have a reasoning model called R1 that, in third-party evaluations, outperformed OpenAI's O1 model. And
Wow.
they even aced humanity's last exam, which is a rigorous AI evaluation designed by experts.
Incredible. But I'm wondering, do we know much about DeepSeek itself?
That's part of the mystery. There's very little public information about them or their founder, Liang Wenfeng. Unlike Western companies that have detailed ethical guidelines, DeepSeek hasn't shared much about their principles.
But maybe they're just focusing on innovation rather than publicity.
Perhaps, but transparency is important, especially in AI development.
True.
Without knowing their values, it's hard to assess potential risks.
Yeah, that makes sense. But considering their achievement, it's hard not to be impressed.
Absolutely. It's like they built a race car in their garage that can outpace Ferraris and with a
Great
fraction of the
analogy.
budget.
So does this mean that companies like OpenAI should be worried?
Well, it certainly puts pressure on them. With cost-effective models emerging, they might need to rethink their strategies.
Right.
Maybe focus more on efficiency and openness.
But don't you think that open source models could be a security concern?
That's a valid point. Open source models can be a double-edged sword. While they promote innovation, they can also be misused. It's
Exactly.
important to balance openness with responsibility.
And with China's state policies, there might be implications for how these AI systems are used globally.
Yes, that's another layer. If Chinese AI models gain widespread adoption, they could influence global narratives through subtle biases. It's something to watch closely.
So what's the solution? How should the global community respond?
I think collaboration on global AI standards and ethics is crucial.
Agreed.
Also, investing in our own innovation and efficiency is important.
Makes sense. Perhaps competition will drive everyone to do better.
Exactly. It's like in sports, a strong rival pushes you to improve.
Right?
The key is to ensure that progress benefits everyone ethically and responsibly.
Well, this has been a fascinating discussion. Thanks for shedding light on this topic.
My pleasure. It's exciting times in the AI world. Let's keep an eye on how this unfolds.
Definitely.
You know what's absolutely blowing my mind lately?
What's that?
This new AI model from DeepSeek in China, it's like they've turned the AI world on its head. It's unbelievable.
Oh, you're talking about that model they developed in just 2 months?
Exactly.
And with under $6 million?
Yes. Meanwhile, companies like OpenAI are spending billions. It's
really
incredible. How did they even do that?
Yeah? I mean, what's their secret?
Well, they couldn't get the top-tier NVIDIA GPUs because of US restrictions, so they optimized with less powerful ones.
Right.
It's kind of genius when you think about it.
So the restrictions didn't slow them down at all?
Nope. If anything, it pushed them to be more innovative. Necessity, breeds invention. Exactly. It might have backfired. Instead of hindering them, it forced them to find smarter solutions.
That's a bit concerning.
Definitely. But it's also a testament to what's possible with limited resources.
True.
Not really. Their founder, Liang Wenfeng, is pretty enigmatic. Their mission statement is vague too. Exactly. It's intriguing but doesn't tell us much. Maybe, but their model is open source so people can examine it. It's being used globally already. Yeah, Chinese AI models have to align with government regulations.
Exactly.
That could have global implications.
Especially if these models become widely adopted internationally.
Right. But perhaps the global developer community can mitigate that by adapting and modifying the models.
Hopefully. but it's a risk we need to be aware of.
Agreed, but it also challenges the big players to rethink their strategies. Maybe
Yay.
efficiency over expenditure is the way forward. Possibly. When a smaller team can achieve similar results with a fraction of the budget, it raises questions. True, but building on existing models is part of the process. That's how technology advances.
Fair point. But OpenAI might argue that pioneering new paths is where the real value lies.
Absolutely. But competition can drive everyone to do better.
As long as it's healthy and pushes the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly. And perhaps this will lead to more collaboration and sharing of ideas. Definitely. The AI race isn't just technological, but also strategic.
Right.
I think it's that innovation can come from anywhere, and we need to stay adaptive and open-minded. Exactly. The better we can leverage global talents, the more we all benefit.
Well said. It's an exciting and challenging time for AI.
It certainly is. Can't wait to see what's next.
So, have you been following the buzz about DeepSeek's new AI model? It's making waves.
DeepSeek? Can't say I have. What's the scoop?
Well, they've developed an AI model that rivals some of the best out there.
Really?
And they did it in just 2 months with under $6 million.
No way. Under 6 million? That's incredible.
Exactly. While companies like OpenAI are spending billions, DeepSeek managed to. It's like they built a skyscraper on a shoestring budget, and it's standing tall.
Haha, that's a visual. How did they achieve that? What's their secret sauce?
They optimized less powerful hardware. NVIDIA's H800 GPUs,
Interesting.
turning limitations into advantages.
So the US's chip restrictions didn't slow them down at all?
Exactly. If anything, it may have pushed them to innovate and find more efficient methods.
But can their model really stand toe-to-toe with GPT-4 or OpenAI's latest?
According to evaluations, their reasoning model, R1, even outperformed OpenAI's O1 in some areas, which is quite a feat.
Impressive. That's a game changer. But do we know much about DeepSeek itself?
Not much, to be honest. Their founder, Liang Wenfeng, is pretty elusive, and the company keeps things under
Mysterious.
wraps.
That lack of transparency is a bit unsettling, especially with open source models.
I get that. But open source means anyone can inspect the code.
Right.
So there's transparency in that sense.
But considering the Chinese government's policies, could there be subtle biases or controls embedded?
That's a fair concern. But biases can exist in any model. The community can analyze and identify them.
True.
And work to mitigate them.
Still, the potential for state influence is higher. We need to be cautious.
Absolutely. It's something to be vigilant about. But we can't ignore the innovation happening.
Agreed.
And how it pushes the whole field forward.
So what does this mean for global AI competition?
It means we're entering a new phase where efficiency and creativity can trump sheer resources.
Interesting.
And the playing field is leveling.
Maybe this will encourage companies like OpenAI to focus more on accessibility and collaboration.
Exactly. Open source models could democratize AI development, leading to more rapid advancements.
But do you think OpenAI and others will actually open up their models?
It's hard to say. There's a balance between protecting proprietary technology and fostering innovation.
Right.
But the pressure is mounting.
I hope they do. Collaboration could accelerate progress for everyone.
Agreed. And with companies like DeepSeek showing what's possible,
Yes.
it's an exciting time for AI.
It's like a chess game, isn't it? Every move by one side prompts a counter move by the other.
Exactly. And sometimes, the unexpected moves, like DeepSeek's breakthrough, change the entire game,
Indeed.
forcing everyone to adapt.
Well, here's to hoping that this competition leads to positive innovations for all of us.
Absolutely. In the end, if AI advances improve lives globally,
That's what
then we
matters.
all win. I've been itching to talk about this. So what's the big deal with DeepSeek's new AI model?
Well, DeepSeek has developed the most advanced open source AI model.
Really?
And they've done it in just 2 months with under $6 million.
Wait, under 6 million? That's insane
Yeah.
compared to the billions spent by OpenAI and Google.
Exactly. It's like they built a rocket ship on the budget of a bicycle.
How in the world did they manage that?
They optimized less powerful hardware using NVIDIA's H800 GPUs instead of the restricted H100s.
Oh, wow.
So they worked around the US chip restrictions.
So the chip restrictions didn't slow them down at all?
Not at all. In fact, it might have pushed them to be more innovative and efficient.
Right.
Necessity breeds creativity, you know?
That's impressive. But should we be concerned about this rapid progress?
Well, it does raise questions about the US maintaining its lead in AI, especially with China's swift advancements despite hurdles.
Absolutely.
It's a wake-up call.
And what do we know about DeepSeek themselves? They're pretty mysterious, aren't they?
Yeah, there's not much info out there. Their founder, Liang Wenfeng, is somewhat of an enigma.
Interesting.
They emerged from a hedge fund called High Flyer Quant.
Do you think their lack of transparency is a red flag?
It could be. Without knowing their ethical guidelines or mission, it's hard to gauge their intentions.
Yeah.
It's a bit unsettling.
But isn't the open source nature of their model supposed to promote transparency?
Typically, yes, but while the model is open, the organization's practices aren't. It's a paradox.
Right. That makes me wonder if we should be cautious about adopting their technology.
Possibly, but open source allows for community scrutiny and adaptation, so developers can modify it responsibly.
Still, relying on their models might have implications for global AI dynamics.
Exactly. It's challenging the idea that only massive budgets yield cutting-edge AI. It's leveling the playing field.
So companies like OpenAI might need to rethink their strategies?
Perhaps. If DeepSeek achieved this with $6 million, it questions the sustainability of pouring billions into proprietary models.
Definitely.
It's a paradigm shift.
But isn't there a risk of government influence in Chinese AI models?
That's a valid concern. Since models align with state-approved values, they could shape global narratives if widely adopted. It could impact information flow.
So maybe we should be cautious about embracing these models wholesale.
True, but open source models can be audited and adapted to mitigate such risks.
Right.
It's about responsible use.
You know, it's like a David and Goliath story.
Exactly.
DeepSeek being David, taking on tech giants with minimal resources.
And perhaps outsmarting them in the process. It's fascinating to watch.
Do you think US companies can adapt to become more efficient like DeepSeek?
They'll have to. It's like survival of the fittest in the tech world.
Indeed.
Innovation or stagnation.
But do you think US restrictions on chips backfired?
It seems so. It may have inadvertently pushed China to innovate smarter. Unintended consequences.
Maybe it's time to rethink how we approach global AI competition.
Agreed. Collaboration might yield better results than strict competition, a cooperative future.
So where do you see this leading in the next few years?
With AI development costs dropping, we might see more players entering the field, more
Exciting.
innovation.
That's great, but also raises ethical considerations.
Definitely. As AI becomes more accessible, ensuring responsible use is crucial.
Yeah.
Ethics can't be an afterthought.
And what about companies like OpenAI?
They'll need to innovate beyond just large models, maybe focusing on AI safety and ethics as differentiators. Trust is key.
Makes sense. Well, this has been a fascinating discussion.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time in AI with so much evolving rapidly. The future
Indeed.
is now.
Can't wait to see what happens next. I'm excited to hear about this. So, what's the big deal with DeepSeek?
So, DeepSeek is this Chinese research lab that has developed a new AI model that, get this, outperforms some of the top models we have, like OpenAI's GPT-4, but at a fraction of the cost and time.
Wait, are you serious? How did they manage that?
Yeah, they claim they did it in just 2 months and spent less than $6 million.
Wow.
It's incredible, considering companies like OpenAI and Google are spending billions.
That's astonishing. It's like a David and Goliath story.
Exactly. It's like someone built a supercar in their garage while the big companies are pouring fortunes into development.
Right, so how did DeepSeek achieve this?
Well, they focused on optimizing existing technologies instead of reinventing the wheel. They used less powerful hardware, like NVIDIA's H800 GPUs, and managed to optimize their model to run efficiently on them.
That's fascinating. But doesn't the US have restrictions on exporting advanced chips to China? How did that play into this?
Exactly. The US imposed strict limits hoping to slow down China's AI progress. But DeepSeek seems to have circumvented that by making the most of what they have. It's a classic case of necessity driving innovation.
Yeah, it's like when you can't get the latest tools, you become really creative with what you've got.
Right. And what's even more impressive is that their model has outperformed well-funded rivals in several benchmarks, from mathematical problem solving to coding competitions.
So what does this mean for the global AI race? Are we seeing a shift in power?
It certainly suggests that. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt even mentioned that China appears to have closed the AI gap entirely, which is a significant change from earlier estimates of them being a few years behind.
Wow, that's rapid advancement. But do we know much about DeepSeek itself? Who are they?
Well, that's part of the mystery. There's not much publicly available information about them or their founder, Liang Wenfeng. They originated from a hedge fund called High Flyer Quant, which manages around $8 billion in assets.
That's intriguing. Do they have an ethical charter or any statements about AI safety?
Not really. Their mission statement is pretty simple. Unravel the mystery of AGI with curiosity. Answer the essential question with long-termism. It's quite minimalist compared to companies like OpenAI that have detailed documents on AI safety and ethics.
That could be a bit concerning. Without transparency, it's hard to know their intentions.
Exactly, and that's part of the broader conversation about the implications of China's advancements in AI. Not only are they making rapid progress, but the lack of transparency raises questions about alignment with ethical standards.
So could this affect how AI is developed globally?
Definitely. If their open source models become widely adopted, they could influence global AI development. Plus, their cost-effective approach challenges the big spenders in the West.
Yeah, it's like they're proving that you don't need billions to create top-tier AI models.
Exactly. And that could democratize AI development, but it also brings competitive pressure on companies like OpenAI and Google to justify their higher costs.
So, do you think this will push Western companies to innovate more efficiently?
Ideally, yes. Competition often drives innovation. But there's also the risk that it could trigger a sort of AI arms race, with each side trying to outdo the other, potentially without sufficient focus on safety and ethics.
But don't you think that the US chip restrictions were necessary to protect national security interests?
Well, perhaps. But it seems they may have backfired by spurring more efficient innovation in China. Instead of slowing them down, we might have inadvertently pushed them to become more competitive.
It's like when you tie one arm behind someone's back, and they learn to fight even better with the other arm.
Exactly. And now other Chinese AI startups are also making significant strides, like 01.ai, which reached unicorn status in just 8 months.
That's impressive. So we're seeing a broader trend here, not just an isolated case with DeepSeek.
Yes, and this challenges the perception that American AI labs have an insurmountable lead. The gap is narrowing faster than expected.
Does this mean we need to rethink how we approach AI development and strategy in the West?
Absolutely. It might be time to focus more on innovation efficiency rather than just throwing more money and resources at the problem.
Agreed. Right? And perhaps collaborate more openly to advance AI in a responsible way.
Exactly. Collaboration could help address the ethical and safety concerns that come with rapid AI advancement.
But do you think that's realistic, given the competitive nature of AI development between nations?
It's challenging for sure. National interests and security concerns often get in the way.
So, what's the takeaway from all this?
Well, it's clear that AI development is accelerating globally, and the playing field is leveling. We need to adapt by focusing on efficiency, ethics, and collaboration to ensure AI benefits everyone.
Couldn't agree more. It's an exciting yet critical time for AI.
Definitely.
I mean, I've heard whispers, but what's so groundbreaking about it?
Well, DeepSeek managed to develop a state-of-the-art AI model in just 2 months with under $6 million. Yeah,
way.
and it's outperforming some of the top models from companies like OpenAI and Google.
Wait, you're telling me they did in 2 months what took others years and billions of dollars?
Exactly. It's mind-blowing. They optimized less powerful GPUs, those NVIDIA H800s, to bypass the need for the high-end chips that are restricted by US regulations.
That's clever. So even with hardware limitations, they found a way around it?
Yeah, it's like they turned the constraint into an advantage. Necessity really does drive innovation.
So how does their model stack up against the big players?
In benchmarks like mathematical problem-solving, AI coding competitions, debugging tests, DeepSeek's model outperforms or matches top models like GPT-4 and Anthropic's Claude.
That's impressive. But, how did they manage the data and training with such a low budget?
That's part of the mystery. They haven't been very transparent about their methods or data sources.
Right.
Their founder, Liang Wenfeng, keeps a low profile, and the company's background is pretty enigmatic.
That raises some questions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. While major US companies have detailed ethical guidelines, DeepSeek's mission statement is simply about unraveling the mystery of AGI with curiosity.
So there's a lack of transparency. Do you think that's concerning?
It could be. On one hand, their open source model is accelerating AI innovation globally.
Yeah.
On the other, there's potential for influence from the Chinese government, especially since AI models there must align with state-approved values.
That could have implications for information control and censorship, right?
Exactly. If these models become widely adopted, they might subtly influence how information is interpreted worldwide.
It's a bit unsettling. But I guess it's also a wake-up call for other AI developers.
For sure. This development challenges the perception that Western companies have an insurmountable lead in AI. Even former Google CEO Eric Schmidt acknowledged China's rapid progress recently.
Do you think US export controls on technology are effective then?
Well, DeepSeek's success suggests otherwise. The restrictions were meant to slow down China's AI progress, but it seems they've spurred more efficient innovation instead.
So by limiting access to high-end hardware, they've pushed Chinese companies to optimize and innovate more?
Exactly. It's like they had to think outside the box. And now they've proven that cutting-edge AI can be developed without massive budgets or top-tier hardware.
That's fascinating. But what does this mean for companies like OpenAI and Google?
They might need to rethink their strategies.
Yeah.
If smaller teams can achieve similar or better results with less, then pouring billions into proprietary models might not be sustainable.
Do you think they'll move towards more open-source approaches?
It's possible. Open-source models tend to gain traction once they reach parity with closed-source systems. Plus, developers love the flexibility and cost-effectiveness.
Speaking of cost, you mentioned DeepSeek's model is much cheaper to run?
Right. Their inference costs are just 10 cents per million tokens, which is about 30 times cheaper than some competitors.
Wow, that's a huge difference. It could make AI applications more accessible across the board.
Exactly. Lower costs can accelerate adoption in various industries. It's democratizing AI development in a way.
But circling back to the potential influence issues, should we be cautious about adopting these models?
That's a valid concern. While open source offers transparency, the origins and any embedded biases need to be carefully considered.
So, it's a double-edged sword. Great technological advancement, but potential risks in terms of influence and control.
Precisely. It's a complex situation. The global AI race isn't just about technology, but also about ethics and governance.
Do you think international collaboration is the answer, or will competition continue to dominate?
It's hard to say. Collaboration could lead to shared standards and ethical guidelines, but geopolitical tensions might make that challenging.
Yeah, especially when AI can influence economic and military power.
Exactly. The stakes are high. But perhaps this will encourage all players to focus not just on advancement, but also on responsibility.
One can hope. So what's next for DeepSeek? Any indications?
They're staying pretty quiet, which adds to the intrigue.
Right.
But given their rapid progress, I wouldn't be surprised if they unveil even more advanced models soon.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. This could reshape the entire AI industry.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time, but also one that calls for careful consideration of the broader implications.
Well, thanks for breaking this down. I feel like I have a much better grasp of what's happening now.
Glad to chat about it. It's developments like these that make the tech world so fascinating. I've heard something about that. What's the big news?
So, there's this Chinese research lab called DeepSeek that's made an incredible breakthrough. They developed an advanced AI model in just 2 months, spending under $6 million.
Wow, under $6 million? That's peanuts compared to what companies like OpenAI and Google are spending.
Exactly. And their model is outperforming some of the industry's best.
That's impressive. How did they manage that, especially with all the US restrictions on advanced hardware?
Well, they couldn't access NVIDIA's top-tier H100 GPUs due to the restrictions.
Right.
So they optimized their model to run on the less powerful H800 GPUs.
So they did more with less. That's pretty resourceful.
Absolutely. It shows how necessity can drive innovation. They had to find new ways to maximize the hardware they had.
But don't you think it's a bit of an exaggeration to say that the US restrictions backfired completely? Maybe they've slowed down China's progress in other areas.
That's a fair point. While the restrictions may have had some impact, in this case, it seems they've pushed DeepSeek to innovate in unexpected ways.
So tell me more about DeepSeek's model. What's so special about it?
Well, their model has outperformed some of the industry's best in tasks like mathematical problem solving, coding competitions, and debugging.
Impressive.
And they released it as an open source model.
That could have huge implications. Developers worldwide can build upon it.
Exactly. And American developers are already using it to innovate further.
But isn't there a concern about using a model developed under Chinese government regulations?
Definitely. Chinese AI models are required to align with state-approved values, which could influence how AI systems interpret and present information globally.
That's worrisome. So while the technology itself is impressive, there are ethical and geopolitical implications.
Exactly. It's a double-edged sword.
Do we know much about DeepSeek as a company?
Not really. There's little public information about them or their founder.
Interesting.
They seem to have emerged from a hedge fund called High Flyer Quant.
The lack of transparency is a bit concerning.
Agreed. And unlike companies like OpenAI, they don't have detailed ethical charters outlining their principles.
So what does this mean for the global AI landscape?
It raises questions about how American AI companies will respond. They might need to focus more on efficiency and perhaps reevaluate their spending.
Makes sense. And possibly embrace more open source collaborations to stay competitive.
Exactly. Open source models can accelerate innovation and make AI development more accessible.
But again, we have to balance that with ethical considerations.
Absolutely. Transparency and responsible AI practices are crucial.
You mentioned earlier that Eric Schmidt acknowledged China's rapid progress. That's a significant shift.
It is. It shows how quickly the dynamics in AI development can change.
So perhaps the competition will now be more about innovation and efficiency rather than just financial might.
Precisely. It's not just about who spends more, but who uses their resources more effectively.
Exactly. And focusing on advancing AI reasoning capabilities rather than just scaling up models.
Yes. OpenAI's O1 model is an example where they're pushing towards better reasoning, but others can catch up.
So the playing field is leveling in some aspects.
It seems so. And with AI models becoming more commoditized, companies might differentiate through applications and user experience.
Like how Perplexity focuses on user interaction rather than model development itself.
Exactly. They've been able to grow significantly by leveraging existing models to provide value.
It's an exciting, albeit challenging time in AI development. So many factors at play.
Indeed. The advancements bring both opportunities and responsibilities.
Well, let's hope the global AI community can navigate these waters responsibly. Oh yeah, it's all over the tech circles. I can't believe they've developed such an advanced model in just 2 months and under $6 million.
Exactly. When you consider that companies like OpenAI and Google have spent years and billions on similar models, it's like they've rewritten the playbook.
It's astonishing. And the fact that it's coming from a relatively unknown Chinese lab rather than the big Western tech giants is something, isn't it?
Yeah, it really shifts the dynamics. DeepSeek has managed to create the most advanced open source AI model available. American developers are jumping on it.
And it's outperforming some of the top AI systems out there. It's like David taking on Goliath and winning.
What's even more impressive is how cost-efficient their development was. I mean, $5.6 million compared to OpenAI's $5 billion annual spending. It's like they're playing a different game altogether.
Right, and they did it without access to the high-end hardware that companies like OpenAI have. They couldn't get NVIDIA's H100 GPUs due to US restrictions.
Precisely. They optimized the less powerful H800 GPUs instead. It goes to show that limitations can spark innovation.
Indeed, necessity is the mother of invention, as they say.
Absolutely. And their model didn't just meet expectations. It surpassed major benchmarks in math problem solving, coding, and debugging, challenging the notion that massive funding is the key to breakthroughs.
But do you think this undermines the efforts of companies that invest heavily in AI development?
Well, in a way, it highlights that innovation isn't solely about resources. It's about efficiency and smart strategies.
That's a fair point. But I'm a bit skeptical about the transparency of DeepSeek. There's very little public information about them or their founder.
True, their low profile adds a layer of mystery. But their results speak volumes. Maybe they're letting their work do the talking.
Perhaps, but in an industry where ethical guidelines and transparency are crucial, their silence is a bit unsettling.
I see where you're coming from. The lack of an ethical charter like those of OpenAI or Anthropic is noteworthy.
Exactly. It raises questions about the principles guiding their AI development, especially with the potential for global impact.
That's definitely something to consider. However, the open source nature of their model does allow for scrutiny and adaptation by the global community.
That's true. Developers worldwide can build upon it, which could accelerate innovation even further.
And let's not forget how this changes the dynamics of the US-China AI race. Eric Schmidt thought China was years behind, but now it seems they've closed the gap significantly.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for the tech industry. The advancements are coming faster than anticipated.
Right, and it challenges the effectiveness of US semiconductor restrictions. Instead of slowing China down, they've found ways to innovate around them.
It's ironic, isn't it? The restrictions may have actually spurred more efficient development methods in China.
Exactly. And this could have long-term implications for global AI leadership.
So, what does this mean for companies like OpenAI? Can they maintain their lead?
That's the big question. They might need to focus more on advancing reasoning capabilities and innovation rather than relying on large budgets.
And perhaps embrace more open source collaboration.
Possibly. The industry might shift towards more democratized AI development, where efficiency and creativity trump sheer spending.
You know, it's kind of exciting to think about how this could level the playing field for smaller teams and startups.
Absolutely. It could lead to a surge in innovation from unexpected places.
But there's also the concern about content control. Chinese AI models adhere to state-mandated guidelines. If they become widely adopted, could that influence global narratives?
That's a valid concern. The values embedded in AI models can shape how information is processed and presented.
So, it's crucial for the global community to be aware and perhaps develop standards for AI ethics and transparency.
Agreed. It's a complex issue that goes beyond technology and into societal impact.
Definitely. And it underscores the importance of not just the technical capabilities, but also the guiding principles behind AI development.
Well said. It's not just about who can build the most powerful model, but how it's used and what values it promotes.
Exactly. So, while DeepSeek's achievements are impressive, we need to consider the broader implications.
For sure. It's an exciting time in AI, but with excitement comes responsibility.
Couldn't agree more. It'll be interesting to see how the industry evolves in response to this.
Indeed. One thing's for certain.
Yeah?
The AI landscape is changing rapidly, and we all need to keep up.
Absolutely. So, what's next? Do you think we'll see more breakthroughs like this from other unexpected players?
I wouldn't be surprised. With the way technology is advancing, innovation can come from anywhere.
It's like we're entering a new era where agility and ingenuity outperform sheer resources.
Exactly. And that could democratize AI development globally, making it more accessible.
But we have to balance that with ethical considerations and ensure that the AI we develop benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's an exciting challenge ahead.
Well, here's to hoping we rise to meet it responsibly and innovatively.
Can you believe
Wow,
that?
that's insane. Especially when you compare it to companies like OpenAI and Google, who've spent billions.
Exactly.
How did they manage that?
That's the craziest part. They used less powerful hardware, like NVIDIA's H800 GPUs, and still outperformed some of the biggest players in the field.
No way.
It's like they turned limitations into strengths.
So, despite the US restrictions on advanced chips, they still pulled this off?
Yep.
Amazing.
The export controls were supposed to slow them down, but DeepSeek just optimized what they had. It's like, necessity really is the mother of invention, right?
Absolutely. But who exactly is behind DeepSeek? I feel like they're this mysterious entity.
That's true. There's not much info out there. Their founder is Liang Wenfeng, and apparently DeepSeek originated from a hedge fund called High Flyer Quant.
Interesting.
They manage around $8 billion in assets.
So they have financial backing, but still developing an AI model that rivals giants with so little.
I know.
It's almost unreal.
And get this, they open sourced their model.
Seriously?
Now developers worldwide are building on top of it. It's sending shockwaves through Silicon Valley.
That's a game changer. But do you think this challenges the dominance of companies like OpenAI?
It certainly puts pressure on them. I mean, if DeepSeek can create a top-tier model for a fraction of the cost,
Right.
investors might start questioning the massive budgets.
But isn't there more to it? Like, what about the ethical guidelines and safety measures that companies like OpenAI emphasize?
That's a good point. DeepSeek's mission statement is pretty minimal. Something about unraveling the mystery of AGI with curiosity. It lacks the detailed ethical charters that Western companies publish.
That could be concerning. If their AI models align with state-approved values, could that influence the global AI landscape?
Potentially, yeah. There's a fear that widespread adoption of such models could impact how information is presented worldwide.
Right.
It's a complex issue.
On the flip side, their efficiency is inspiring. Maybe it pushes everyone to innovate smarter, not just throw money at the problem.
Exactly. It's like they proved that you don't need billions to make breakthroughs.
Yeah.
It's more about resourcefulness and clever optimization.
Do you think this will change how companies approach AI development?
I think so. Companies might focus more on efficiency and open source models. It could democratize AI development in a big way.
But what about the US maintaining its lead in AI? Are we at risk of falling behind?
Well, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt initially thought China was years behind, but even he admitted recently that they've caught up. It's a wake-up call for sure.
Wow. This really underlines the importance of global collaboration and healthy competition, doesn't it?
Absolutely. In the end, advancements in AI benefit everyone, but we need to be mindful of the paths we take.
Speaking of paths, how did DeepSeek manage to train their models so efficiently? Any insights on their methods?
They used a technique called distillation. It's like they extracted knowledge from larger models to train smaller, high-performing ones. It's a smart way to reduce costs without sacrificing quality.
That's clever. So they're standing on the shoulders of giants in a way.
Exactly. And it's interesting because OpenAI did something similar, building on Google's transformer models. It's all about iterative improvement.
So maybe instead of fearing these developments, Western companies can learn from them?
Definitely. It could lead to more innovation across the board.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's a push to focus on quality and efficiency over sheer scale.
Do you think OpenAI and others will adjust their strategies because of this?
They might have to. With open source models closing the gap, they need to offer something unique, like advanced reasoning capabilities. Otherwise,
Makes sense.
They risk being outpaced.
It's fascinating how quickly the AI landscape can shift.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it shows that innovation isn't just about resources, it's about adaptability and creativity.
Couldn't agree more. This DeepSeek story is a perfect example of that.
So true. It'll be interesting to see how this influences AI development globally.
Absolutely.
We're witnessing a pivotal moment in tech history.
And as always, competition drives progress. Maybe this will lead to breakthroughs we can't even imagine yet.
Let's hope so.
Definitely.
The future of AI just got even more exciting. So, did you hear about DeepSeek's latest breakthrough?
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Wait, DeepSeek? From China, right? What's so special about it?
Well, they developed an AI model that rivals the best from OpenAI and Google. But get this. They did it in just 2 months with under $6 million.
No way. That's incredible. How did they manage that?
That's the thing.
Yeah?
They optimize their resources like crazy. While companies like OpenAI are spending billions, DeepSeek streamlined the process.
It's like building a sports car with the budget for a bicycle.
Exactly. And they even worked around US chip restrictions. They used less powerful GPUs, but tweaked them to perform efficiently.
That's some serious ingenuity. So the US restrictions didn't slow them down?
Not at all. In fact, it might have pushed them to innovate more.
Interesting.
Necessity is the mother of invention, after all.
But who exactly is behind DeepSeek? I haven't heard much about them.
That's part of the mystery. Their founder, Liang Wenfeng, is pretty elusive. There's not much public info about them or their team.
That's a bit unsettling. Are there concerns about transparency?
Definitely. People are wondering how they assembled their team, where they got their data.
Right.
Lots of unanswered questions.
Do you think that lack of transparency could be a problem?
It could be. I mean, in contrast, companies like OpenAI and Anthropic have detailed ethical guidelines.
Yeah.
DeepSeek's mission statement is pretty vague.
Unravel the mystery of AGI with curiosity, right?
Exactly. Not much to go on there. It raises concerns about ethics and intentions.
And what about the implications for the global AI race?
Well, it's shaking things up big time. Eric Schmidt thought China was years behind, but now they're closing the gap fast.
That's a game changer. Does this threaten the lead of companies like OpenAI?
It might. OpenAI needs to justify their higher costs when others are achieving similar results for less.
Right.
The competition is heating up.
But isn't there a worry about China's influence over AI?
For sure. Chinese AI models have to align with state-approved values. If their models become widespread, it could affect global narratives.
That's kind of scary. Information control on a global scale?
Yeah. It's like handing the microphone to someone without knowing what they'll say.
Exactly.
There's a lot at stake.
So, what do you think this means for the future of AI development?
I think we're entering a new era where efficiency trumps sheer spending.
Interesting.
Smaller teams can make big waves now.
That's encouraging for startups, but what about quality and safety?
That's the million-dollar question. Or should I say, the $6 million question.
Ha!
Without proper oversight, there could be risks.
Do you think OpenAI and others will change their strategies?
They might have to. Either become more cost-effective or offer something uniquely superior.
Right.
The old ways might not cut it anymore.
It's like the tortoise and the hare, isn't it?
Exactly. Slow and steady, or in this case, efficient and steady, could win the race.
Yeah.
It's a whole new ballgame.
I'm curious, though. How did DeepSeek achieve such efficiency?
They focused on optimizing existing architectures instead of reinventing the wheel. They used techniques like model distillation to streamline.
So they refined what was already there?
Yes, and they were smart about it. It's like taking a classic recipe and tweaking it to perfection. Saves
Nice.
time and resources.
Do you think this will inspire others to take a similar approach?
Definitely. It shows that innovation isn't just about big budgets.
Right.
It's about smart strategies.
But could there be downsides to this rapid advancement?
Well, without proper regulations, we might see models deployed without thorough ethical considerations. It could lead to misuse.
That's concerning. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Absolutely. The technology is exciting, but we need to handle it responsibly.
Agreed.
It's a shared responsibility.
This makes me wonder, what role should governments play?
They need to create frameworks that encourage innovation, but also ensure safety and ethics.
Yeah.
A balanced approach is key.
Do you think international collaboration could help?
Ideally, yes. AI is a global phenomenon. Working together could lead to better outcomes for everyone.
But given geopolitical tensions, is that realistic?
It's challenging, but not impossible.
Right.
Dialogue is the first step.
Well, this definitely gives us a lot to think about.
It sure does. The AI landscape is changing faster than ever.
Yep.
Who knows what the next breakthrough will be?
Let's just hope it's used for the betterment of all.
Couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, it's about how we choose to use these powerful tools.
Exactly.
The future is in our hands.
Wow.
That's peanuts compared to the billions companies like OpenAI are pouring into their models.
That's astonishing. How did they manage that?
Well, they optimized the entire process. Due to US restrictions, they couldn't access the top-tier GPUs, like NVIDIA's H100s. So they used less powerful H800 chips and made it work.
Incredible.
It's like they turned a limitation into an advantage.
That's impressive. But does their model actually compete with the likes of GPT-4?
Actually, yes. They've outperformed some of the top AI systems in various benchmarks, including math problem solving and coding competition.
No kidding.
It's really shaking things up in the AI community. True, there's a bit of mystery there. Their founder, Liang Wenfeng, keeps a low profile, and info is scarce. But their mission statement is all about unraveling the mystery of AGI with curiosity.
That's poetic, but also a bit vague. Do you think that's intentional?
Maybe. It could be a cultural difference, or perhaps they're just focused on the work.
Could be.
But the open source nature of their model allows for community scrutiny, which might offset some transparency concerns.
That's a fair point, but I'm still wondering about the possible implications. If Chinese AI models start to dominate, could that influence global narratives, especially considering state regulations in China?
That's a valid concern.
Exactly.
China's government does have mandates on AI aligning with state-approved values. If these models become widespread, they might, subtly, shape the way AI interprets and presents information.
So should we be cautious about adopting these models?
Caution is always wise. But the open source community tends to adapt and modify models to fit different needs and values. It's a complex issue, balancing innovation with ethical considerations.
Definitely. It's fascinating how DeepSeek managed to achieve so much with so little. It makes you wonder if massive budgets are really necessary.
Exactly. Their efficiency is challenging the notion that you need billions to develop top-tier AI.
Right.
It's potentially democratizing AI development.
But do you think this could be a wake-up call for companies like OpenAI and Google?
I think so. It might push them to innovate differently, focusing on efficiency and perhaps being more open.
Hopefully.
Competition can spur progress, after all.
That's true. But let's not forget about the importance of transparency and ethics in AI development.
Absolutely. Those are crucial, and the industry needs to prioritize them alongside technological advancement.
Agreed.
It's an exciting but also critical time in AI.
So, where do you think this leaves the US in the AI race?
Well, the gap is definitely closing, or maybe even closed. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt even acknowledged China's rapid progress.
Interesting.
The US will need to reassess its strategies.
Maybe focusing more on collaboration and less on restrictions?
Perhaps. Restrictions didn't seem to slow down DeepSeek.
Exactly.
They might have even spurred innovation out of necessity.
It's like the saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly. Constraints can lead to creative solutions. DeepSeek's success is a testament to that.
You know, it's interesting how DeepSeek's achievement might change our perspective on AI development costs.
Definitely. It challenges the idea that you need billions to create cutting-edge AI.
Right.
Maybe efficiency and smart optimization are the keys.
And it makes you wonder if companies with massive budgets might be less incentivized to find those efficiencies.
Exactly. When you have unlimited resources, you might not push for optimization as hard. DeepSeek had to innovate out of necessity due to the restrictions they faced.
So in a way, the US chip restrictions could have unintentionally spurred innovation in China.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
By limiting access to high-end hardware, it pushed them to find creative solutions.
It's like when you're given constraints, you often come up with better, more efficient ways to solve problems.
Absolutely. Constraints can fuel creativity, and now we're seeing the results of that.
But what does this mean for global AI leadership? Could China overtake the US in AI innovation?
It's possible. At the very least, they're becoming a major player that can't be ignored.
Indeed.
The race is getting tighter, and competition might drive everyone to innovate faster.
That's good for technology advancement, but also adds pressure regarding ethical considerations and global impacts.
True. It's a fine balance. We need to ensure that AI development is responsible and considers potential societal implications.
Exactly.
Open source models like DeepSeek's can democratize AI, but also pose challenges in controlling misuse.
That's a great point. With powerful AI more accessible, there could be risks if it's used unethically.
Definitely. That's why governance and ethical guidelines are so important. But at the same time, open source allows for greater collaboration and rapid innovation.
So it's a double-edged sword. Absolutely. Finding the right balance is key.
You know, it's also interesting how DeepSeek's model sometimes mistakenly identifies itself as being developed by OpenAI.
Really?
It shows how closely it mirrors existing models.
That's kind of funny, but also raises questions about originality and innovation.
Yeah. But as Sam Altman said, copying is easy. Real innovation is hard. But building upon existing work is also a part of technological progress.
Exactly. Standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say.
Right. And perhaps that's what DeepSeek has done. Taken what's out there and optimized it in new ways.
So, do you think OpenAI and others will need to rethink their strategies?
Possibly. They might need to focus more on advancing capabilities that can't be easily replicated, like enhanced reasoning skills or novel architectures.
Makes sense.
Innovation that pushes the boundaries rather than just scaling what's already known.
And maybe finding ways to be more efficient too.
Absolutely. Efficiency seems to be a significant advantage.
Yep.
It's not just about bigger models, but smarter models.
Well, this has been a fascinating discussion. There's so much happening in AI right now.
For sure. It's an exciting time, but also one that requires thoughtful consideration about the direction
Agreed.
We're heading. Can't wait to see what unfolds next. It's outperforming some of the heavyweights like OpenAI and Google, who've spent billions.
That's incredible. How did they manage that?
That's the thing. They've optimized less powerful hardware to achieve results we thought needed top-tier chips. It's like they turned limitations into advantages.
So they're using like lower-end GPUs?
Exactly. They used NVIDIA's H800 GPUs instead of the restricted H100s.
Right.
And they've shown that you don't need the most expensive hardware to play at the top level.
That's a game changer. Does this mean the US chip restrictions didn't slow them down?
Precisely. It's like the restrictions pushed them to innovate more efficiently. Necessity really is the mother of invention, huh?
Absolutely. But what about the quality of their model? Is it really on par with the likes of GPT-4?
Surprisingly, yes. In various benchmarks, math problems, coding competitions, debugging, it either matches or outperforms the top models. They've even released a reasoning model, R1, that outshines OpenAI's O1 model in third-party evaluations.
That's impressive. But with such rapid progress, how are they handling ethical considerations?
Well, that's where things get a bit murky. DeepSeek hasn't been very transparent about their operations. Unlike OpenAI or Anthropic, they don't have detailed ethical charters publicly available.
That could be concerning. Do we know anything about their founder or team?
The founder is Liang Wenfeng, but beyond that, details are sparse. Their mission statement is pretty minimalistic. Something about unraveling the mystery of AGI with curiosity.
So they're keeping things close to the chest. That raises some questions, doesn't it?
It does. Especially when their model sometimes mistakenly identifies itself as being developed by OpenAI.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It's almost like it's mimicking GPT-4.
That's quite odd. Could it be that they're borrowing more than just inspiration?
It's possible. Sam Altman from OpenAI hinted that copying is easy, but true innovation is hard. So there's some skepticism about how original DeepSeek's work really is.
Makes sense. But even so, their ability to optimize and produce results with limited resources is impressive.
Absolutely. It's forcing us to rethink the economics of AI development.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need billions to make significant advancements.
It's like David and Goliath, but in tech.
Exactly.
And it's not just DeepSeek. Other Chinese startups are making waves too.
Right? Companies like 01.ai are reaching unicorn status in record time. They're achieving remarkable results with minimal funding compared to their Western counterparts.
Do you think this could level the playing field in AI development globally?
Potentially, yes. It shows that innovation isn't solely tied to how much money you throw at a problem.
Yeah.
Efficiency and clever solutions are becoming the real game changers.
But with China's government policies, especially around AI aligning with state-approved values, could this have global implications?
That's a valid concern. If their models gain widespread adoption, there could be subtle influences on how AI systems interpret information worldwide.
Right.
It's something we need to keep an eye on.
Definitely. So what's the takeaway for companies like OpenAI and Google?
They might need to rethink their strategies. OpenAI, for instance, has to justify the higher costs of their closed source models when open source alternatives are catching up rapidly.
Competition is heating up and the barriers to entry are lowering.
Exactly. It's like the early days of software development when open source started disrupting traditional models. Adaptation is key.
Do you think we'll see more collaboration or more competition because of this?
Probably a bit of both. Collaboration in the sense of building upon open source models, but competition in pushing the boundaries of what's possible. It's an exciting time for AI, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But circling back, do you think DeepSeek's lack of transparency could hinder its global impact?
It might. Trust is crucial, especially when it comes to AI ethics and safety.
Yeah.
If developers are wary, they might hesitate to adopt their models fully.
That's true. Transparency builds trust.
Exactly. But on the flip side, their open source approach does allow others to inspect and build upon their work. So it's a double-edged sword.
Well, one thing's clear. The AI landscape is shifting rapidly.
Couldn't agree more. It's pushing everyone to innovate faster and think differently.
And maybe that's a good thing. Healthy competition can lead to breakthroughs that benefit us all.
Absolutely. It's like a catalyst for progress.
Right.
We just need to navigate the challenges carefully.
Well said. So what's next? Keep an eye on DeepSeek and others like them?
Definitely. And it'll be interesting to see how the big players respond. The next few months could redefine the AI industry.
Exciting times ahead.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see what unfolds. Oh yeah, I've been reading about it. It's pretty groundbreaking, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, they developed this advanced AI model in just 2 months and with less than $6 million.
That's incredible.
It's shaking up the entire tech industry.
Wait, so they did what companies like OpenAI and Google have been doing for years, but in a fraction of the time and cost?
Exactly. It's mind-blowing. They've managed to outperform some of the most sophisticated AI systems out there, and all from a relatively unknown lab called DeepSeek.
How did they pull that off? Do we know much about their methods?
Well, that's part of the mystery. There's very little public information about DeepSeek or its founder, Liang Wenfeng. But what we do know is that they've optimized less powerful hardware to achieve these results.
Wait, so they're not using the high-end GPUs like NVIDIA's H100s?
Nope. They've been using the H800s, which are less powerful, but they've optimized them so efficiently that US chip restrictions haven't slowed them down at all. That's really impressive. Shows how necessity drives innovation.
Yeah. It reminds me of how constraints can actually boost creativity.
Exactly.
So, what's the implication of this for the global AI race?
Well, it's shifting the perception that American AI labs have an insurmountable lead.
Makes sense.
China's advancements are catching up, maybe even overtaking in some areas.
That's a bit concerning. Do you think this will push US companies to innovate faster?
I think it might. It's like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
But it also raises questions about collaboration and openness in the AI community.
Speaking of openness, DeepSeek's model is open source, right?
Yes. And American developers are already using it as a foundation for further innovation.
Wow.
It's accelerating AI development globally.
But aren't there concerns about the Chinese government's influence on AI models?
That's a valid point. Chinese AI models must align with state-approved values, so there's a potential for influencing global narratives.
Right.
It's something the international community is watching closely.
Do you think this could lead to issues with information control?
Possibly. If these models become widely adopted, they could subtly influence how AI systems interpret and present information worldwide. It's a double-edged sword.
It really is. But you have to admire the technical achievement. Their
Absolutely.
Computational efficiency is outpacing well-funded rivals.
And that's with a budget that's a fraction of what companies like OpenAI and Google are spending. It really challenges the notion that you need billions to make significant progress in AI.
You know, it's like the classic tale of the underdog outsmarting the giants.
Exactly. It's David and Goliath in the tech world. And it's causing a lot of buzz in Silicon Valley.
I bet. But do we know how they assembled their team or acquired their data?
That's part of the intrigue. Those details remain undisclosed. It adds a layer of mystery to the whole story.
Maybe they're keeping their cards close to their chest to maintain their competitive edge.
Could be. But it also raises questions about transparency.
True.
Especially when their models might influence global AI practices.
Yeah. Transparency is crucial, especially in AI development, where ethics and safety are paramount.
Exactly. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic have detailed ethical charters.
Right.
DeepSeek's mission statement is much more succinct.
Unravel the mystery of AGI with curiosity. Answer the essential question with long-termism, right?
That's the one. Philosophical, but not particularly detailed.
Well, maybe they'll share more as they become more prominent on the global stage.
Hopefully. It would help build trust and foster collaboration.
Definitely.
The AI community thrives on shared knowledge.
Do you think OpenAI and other companies will adjust their strategies in response?
I think they might have to. With efficient, low-cost models emerging, they'll need to justify the higher costs of their proprietary models.
Yeah.
Competition could drive innovation and pricing models.
It's an exciting time in AI, but also a critical one.
Absolutely. The stakes are high. The US-China AI race could determine the future trajectory of global technology and influence.
Agreed.
It's more than just tech. It's about global dynamics.
And with open source models becoming more advanced, it levels the playing field in some ways.
It does. But it also means that AI development is accelerating everywhere. It's like the floodgates have opened.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. In the meantime, it's inspiring to see such innovation.
Couldn't agree more. It's like watching history in the making.
Yeah.
The AI landscape is evolving right before our eyes.
Makes you wonder what the next big breakthrough will be.
Indeed. Perhaps it'll come from an unexpected place again. That's
Maybe.
the beauty of innovation. It can happen anywhere.
Well, this has been a fascinating discussion.
Agreed. Always great to dive into these topics with you.
Likewise.
Let's keep an eye on DeepSeek and see what they do next.
This is huge. So what's the story behind DeepSeek's latest advancement?
Well, DeepSeek, a relatively unknown Chinese research lab, has developed an AI model
Right.
that, in just 2 months and with less than $6 million, outperforms some of the most sophisticated AI systems from giants like OpenAI and Google.
Wait, seriously? They achieved that level of performance with such a small budget?
Exactly. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. While companies like OpenAI are spending billions, DeepSeek managed to leapfrog with a fraction of the resources.
That really changes the game. How did they pull that off?
Well, one of the key factors is their incredible computational efficiency. They optimize their model using less powerful NVIDIA H800 GPUs, bypassing the US restrictions on advanced chips like the H100s.
So despite the semiconductor restrictions, they still managed to innovate?
Exactly. It's like necessity became the mother of invention here. The restrictions forced them to find creative solutions, and they ended up making significant advances in efficiency and optimization.
That's impressive. But what does this mean for the global AI race?
It means that China's AI capabilities are accelerating faster than many anticipated. Even former Google CEO Eric Schmidt acknowledged that China has closed the AI gap entirely in just the past 6 months.
Wow, that's a bold statement. So, do you think this challenges the dominance of American AI companies?
Absolutely. It's a wake-up call. If DeepSeek can achieve this with limited resources, it suggests that the barriers to entry are lowering, and innovation can come from unexpected places.
But isn't there a concern about lack of transparency? I mean, we don't know much about DeepSeek or its founder, right?
True, there's a bit of mystery surrounding them. They emerged from a hedge fund called High Flyer Quant, and their founder, Liang Wenfeng, keeps a low profile. Unlike Western AI firms with detailed ethical charters, DeepSeek's mission is simply unravel the mystery of AGI with curiosity.
That sounds a bit vague. Should we be worried about the lack of transparency and potential implications?
It's a valid concern. The open source nature of DeepSeek's model is double-edged. On one hand, it democratizes AI development, but on the other, there's uncertainty about content control and alignment with state-approved values.
But isn't that a bit speculative? I mean, just because it's developed in China doesn't necessarily mean it'll be used for influencing global narratives.
That's true. But given the government's role in mandating AI models align with state-approved values, there's a possibility. We need to be cautious and consider all implications.
I guess that's fair. But let's talk about the technical achievements again. How does DeepSeek's model compare in performance?
Well, their model outperforms well-funded rivals like Meta's Llama, OpenAI's GPT-4, and Anthropic's Claude across various benchmarks, including mathematical problem-solving, coding competitions, and debugging assessments.
And they did all that with just 5.6 million.
Yep, which is astonishing when you consider OpenAI's $5 billion annual spend and Microsoft's $13 billion investment in them.
It's almost like they're redefining the economics of AI development.
Exactly. It challenges the notion that you need massive financial resources to make significant advancements in AI.
Do you think this will force companies like OpenAI to rethink their strategies?
I believe so. They may need to justify the higher costs of their closed-source models when more cost-efficient alternatives like DeepSeek are emerging.
But OpenAI still has an edge in reasoning capabilities, right?
For now, yes. Their O1 model leads in reasoning, but a recent Berkeley study showed that similar models could be developed for just $450, so that advantage might not last long.
That's incredible. So where does this leave the future of AI development?
It suggests we're moving toward a more democratized AI landscape, where efficiency and innovation trump sheer financial power. Companies will need to focus on ingenuity and optimizing resources.
And perhaps collaboration will become more important than competition?
Possibly. The open source movement could accelerate advancements by allowing more developers to contribute and build upon existing models.
But do you think the US should be concerned about losing its AI leadership?
It's definitely a concern. The US needs to continue fostering innovation and perhaps reconsider some of the restrictions that might be pushing competitors to become more efficient and, in turn, more competitive.
That's an interesting point. Sometimes constraints can actually drive innovation, right?
Exactly. It's like when you're working with limited tools, you often find clever ways to solve problems you wouldn't have considered before.
So maybe the key takeaway is that the AI race isn't just about who has the most resources, but who uses them most effectively.
Precisely. It's about efficiency, optimization, and the ability to innovate within constraints.
Well, this has been an eye-opening discussion. Any final thoughts?
Just that we're witnessing a pivotal moment in AI development, and it'll be fascinating to see how this shapes the future of technology and global relations.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for sharing these insights.
My pleasure. Always great to chat about such exciting developments.